What's up, peeps? So today we're going to be doing something slightly different.
Wow.
If you know me, you'll know that I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of FIFA, and every single year I put a lot of hours into the Ultimate Team feature. So for the last few years, I've spent a lot of time watching player reviews and guides to help me through previous FIFAs. Now for FIFA 21, I've decided to change that up, and I'm going to be the guy making the reviews. So I'm going to be making some reviews and potentially some guides, which will hopefully help you guys out.
Nice.
Right, so as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be looking at an OP cheap Premier League team. So hopefully this team that I'm going to suggest to you, hopefully you'll get some ideas from it and it'll help you build a foundation to get you through FIFA 21 Ultimate Team. I'm going to show you a bunch of Premier League players that I think are going to be relatively cheap this season on FIFA 21 Ultimate Team that you should be able to put into your starter squad. So starting off, we have Nick Pope in goal. So, last year he had a 79 rated card, but after 15 clean sheets last season in the Premier League, I think he deserves an upgrade by now. So, not a massive upgrade, I've put it down as 81, jumping up 2 ratings. But overall, he's a kind of all-round goalkeeper, and I think he is going to be a great addition to any squad this season, and pretty cheap. So next up we have West Ham left-back Masuaku, who if you've used in previous FIFAs, you will realise he is an absolute beast at left-back at the start. His stats aren't crazy, but he's an all-round left-back who's got great pace. Last season he had a 76 rated card. I think he deserves a slight bump up to 77. However, he hasn't done anything crazy this season to deserve anything higher than that, I don't think. So only a few little boosts in stats, but overall he's got good pace, good dribbling, defending, physical, and passing. Shooting's not really there, but you don't really need that from your left back. But he's someone who can get up and down that wing, defending, attacking, and whipping in passes. Masuaku will help provide to your attacks with a high medium work rate and 4-star skills to help you run up that wing and provide for the strikers. Next up we have our centre back, and I have chosen Joe Gomez. So to any of you that played FIFA last season and used him, you will know he's an absolute animal. The man possesses a lot of pace. I might be being a bit harsh. Last season he had an 80 rated card. This year he's got an 82 rated card, and obviously after winning the Premier League you'd think that's going to go higher. I didn't want to sound biased because I am a Liverpool fan, so I've left it at 82. I don't know what FIFA's going to do with him, but yeah, last season he kept up with the strikers. He had the pace. He was a no-nonsense defender. He didn't do anything fancy. You're not going to see him really on the attacks. He's probably not going to score goals, but if you just want someone at the back that's just going to consistently clean up, Joe Gomez did that for me last season, and I can't see why he wouldn't do that this season on FIFA. Now, sticking with the theme of English centre-backs, I have gone with Tomori as my next pick. The reason for this, I think under Frank Lampard last season, he got quite a few games in, both Premier League and Champions League. So I think he's going to get a slight bump up. Last season he had a 77 rated card, which wasn't a bad card. I think he deserves a slight upgrade, so I've gone for 79 on this one. With the key, again, like Joe Gomez, pace. Pace at the back seems to be the meta in FIFA 20, and I can imagine not much is going to change on FIFA 21 for that. But he has decent kind of defensive stats, good pace, good defending, good physical. Again, probably not going to provide much for you on the attack, but you don't really need that if you're looking for a no-nonsense defender. Maybe someone to partner up with Joe Gomez, 2 no-nonsense defenders. I think Tomori would be a good call there. Moving over to right back, I have selected, yes, another English player. Again from Chelsea, I have looked at Reece James for this position. As you can see on this card, a lot of similarities to the other defenders I've looked at. Pace being the highlight yet again. But last season, he got quite a few games under Frank Lampard, much like Tomori. He's come leaps and bounds. I think he played 24 matches and got 2 assists, as well as playing in the Champions League and getting a goal in that as well. So I think he deserves a slight upgrade. Last season, he was a silver 73 rated card. I think he should go to, as you can see, a 75 non-rare, I believe is what they're probably going to go with this year. But yeah, pace, he's got it. Dribbling, he's got it. Defending, he's got it. Physical, he's got it. I haven't really upgraded the card too much from his previous card, so the stats you can see in front of you are very, very close to what he had last season. I think a player like him hopefully wouldn't be too expensive because obviously there's a lot of competition in the right back space. You know, Trent Arnold's going to be probably a key player. Pereira as well, people are going to go for, and Cancelo. So I think James might be a hidden gem that not many people are going to think about, that can provide on the right side there. Again, no nonsense defender and would link up perfectly with Tomori or Gomez. Over to the midfield now. I know what you're going to say. Another English player. I'm really sorry. I promise this isn't going to be a full English squad. But we have Calvin Phillips. So, recently promoted with Leeds. A big contributor to that. He scored a few goals, a few assists, and last season on FIFA he got a hell of a lot of informs for a Championship player. Um, yeah, another player with overall good stats. He is good defensively. He will be a good centre defensive mid for any side, I reckon, at the very start of FIFA, coming against kind of average players. Again, he's got pace. His previous club was 75, but I think he's going to get a bit of a hefty upgrade to, well, as you can see, 79 is what I think he's going to get. He's got a medium-high work rate, so that high defensive work rate is going to mean he's going to chase those balls. But yeah, physically he's there, so it's going to be tough for any attacker or midfielder to kind of get past him. And he's an all-round player. He doesn't really have the shooting, but you don't really need that because you can just pass the ball forward to someone that is a bit more capable. But defensively, passing the ball around the midfield, helping the defenders out, I think he's going to be the perfect addition to your squad. Joining Phillips in midfield, I've chosen Ndombele from Spurs. The reason I've chosen this, I used him a lot last season. He was a really cheap player at the start and he was just ridiculous. So as you can see from his stats, last year he had an 81 rated card. I've bumped this up slightly because he had a good season with Spurs. He scored a few goals, a few assists as well. Played quite a few games, but he didn't really do anything crazy that I think deserves a massive bump up. With that said, I used him a lot last season. I had the money to buy Fabinho and Fernandinho and like Kante, but I actually kept Ndombele for quite a while until eventually getting Essien. Ndombele kind of just, he was just always there. He was always picking up the ball in midfield and charging forwards. He has all the stats that you need. He's got 4-star skill moves. He'll just go box to box. His shooting doesn't look like it's there, but actually you'll be surprised the amount of goals this guy scores. But he is a perfect addition if you just want a no-nonsense midfielder. I know I keep mentioning no-nonsense, but honestly, a lot of these players, they just get on with what you want them for. Like this guy will pick up the ball and he'll charge forward and either score a goal for you or pass it on to someone else and get an amazing assist. So moving into a more attacking midfield role here, we have Donny van der Beek, who's just moved to Manchester United from Ajax. Last season, he got an impressive 8 goals, 5 assists in 23 matches for Ajax, so I believe he does deserve a boost. However, I've probably been a bit harsh. I've only given him an 82, up from 81 last season, so you could probably argue he deserves 83, 84. In previous FIFAs, he's been outstanding. He's been quite cheap. Hopefully, that's the same this season. I've popped him in here because I think he'll be a great addition. As you can see from the stats, I've not massively boosted them that much from last season's. He is an all-round player, much like all the other players I've put in here. He is all-round. He's got everything you need. He will pick up the ball. He's a high work rate. He's going to pick up that ball. He's going to score goals, provide assists, and he's just going to do the job for you. And it could be a player that you could have further on into the game until you can afford the likes of De Bruyne and players like that. Right, so as we move over to the wings, it becomes a slight issue because you're going to want pacey players on those wings. And if you want a player that has 90 plus pace, you're probably going to be spending quite a lot of money at the very beginning of FIFA at least, 15 to 20k plus probably. So I would have suggested someone like Christian Pulisic, who had 90 pace last season, which will probably be a little bit more this season. However, I can't imagine that's going to be the most affordable option for the very start, at least. It's someone you might want to get, but at the start, probably not. So I've taken a different look at this, and I've suggested Trezeguet. He scored a good few goals this season. He has decent all-round stats already. He has a 77 rated card on FIFA 20, which hasn't been upgraded for a while, I don't think. So I think he is deserving of a little upgrade. So I've put him to 78 with a few little attribute upgrades here and there. With that said, though, he does have 4-star skills, 5-star weak foot with a high medium work rate. So he is going to get into those attacking positions. He has got the skills to get around defenders. He's got decent dribbling and again a weak foot, so he'll be alright on both feet attacking and shooting there. So I think he'll be a good little addition. With a good team around him, he will be good for that left wing position. Over to the right wing now, we have the exact same issue we had on the left wing, which is pacey players are pricey. So we're going to have the issue that we're not going to be able to pick up the likes of Alan San Maxim or Adama Traore, who are players I would 100% recommend. However, they're going to be very expensive at the beginning of the game. They were last year, they will be this year. They have 90 plus pace and they are expensive. Of course, in the future, you're going to want your Sterlings and players like that. But for now, at the very beginning of the game, I've thrown a bit of a curveball. I think Reece Nelson potentially could be a good player to grab. He's got really good pace and dribbling. I've upgraded him from a 72 silver to a non-rare 75 gold. I might be being very generous. He didn't really do much last season. He played a lot of games in the first team, which is obviously a step up for someone his age. He did score his first goal in the Premier League, so that might go in his favour. But I think in general, he's a decent card. Hopefully, he wouldn't be too expensive either. Of course, bearing in mind the fact he's English and playing for Arsenal, squad builders might be an issue there. But at the very beginning, you might be able to grab him cheap. He has got 4-star skills, 4-star weak foot, and a high medium work rate, which does mean he is a little bit of a hidden gem. If you want a player that can run around defenders, bang some goals with his weak foot, and of course constantly be in those good attacking positions with that high work rate, I think he'll be a good little. So last but not least in our starting 11, we have our striker. Yes, before you say, I know, another English player, I am sorry. I did a lot of deliberating over this position, but I just couldn't find players I didn't think were going to be expensive. So like Jamie Vardy wasn't too expensive last season, but with the season he's had last season, he's going to be pricey. Same as Zaha and players like that, they're going to be pricey. And I think Mason Greenwood's going to get a nice upgrade. He had a 67 silver card last season, and I think he's going to go up to like a 70 rated gold, as you can see. I don't think his stats are going to go mad, but I think from last season in the Europa League he scored 5 goals in 9 matches, and in the Premier League he got 10 goals in 31 matches with an assist, which I think deserves an upgrade. Of course, he's got a 5-star weak foot as well, so he's going to be no nonsense on both feet there. And I think he's just going to be a good little starter card. I don't know how close I'm going to get with the stats. I think his shooting might be a bit higher than 70. Last season it was 66. But I think hopefully he'll be quite a cheap player. Potentially, Man United players are always bloody expensive on FIFA, but I would like to think with all the other players out there that are going to be quite expensive, Mason Greenwood shouldn't be too much. But I think he'll be a good addition to the squad. I've never used him in FIFA, but he looks like he'll shape up to be a good player. Moving on to some honourable mentions that didn't quite make it into the starting 11. So as you can see, we have Malang Sarr, who's just moved over to Chelsea. He was a decent centre-back on the last FIFA. He does have a high work rate in defence, so that always bodes in his favour. I think the reason he didn't make the starting squad, I think he'll be quite cheap, but he just didn't have the pace that I'd be looking for, depending on how expensive the Gomez and Tomori picks are. Sarr, I think, would be a good choice because he does have decent defending, physical, and he does have some pace there. And of course, there is always the option with any of these players to chuck a card on them, like Shadow, which will just massively boost those stats up. Same with Soyuncu. He doesn't have mad pace stats, but he has got good defensive and physical. Again, these are all just predictions and the card I've made, but they're not far off the cards that they had last season. And then lastly, I put Costas Tsimikas, who's just moved over to Liverpool. The reason I picked him, you can probably see, I've put 87 pace, which again isn't far off what he had last season. He's a fast player with passing and dribbling, and although his defensive side might not be the best, I don't know what they're going to upgrade him to. I think he'll still be a silver card, but he's got that high medium work rate, so I think he's going to be the perfect player for just dashing up and down the wing and just providing assists and hopefully some good defence. But until the game comes out, I'm not too sure what his card or any of these cards are actually going to look like. But I think it's going to look something like this. And I think depending on his price, he might actually be quite a decent left back, depending on the prices of the other left backs on the game. So for my first honourable mention for midfield, I have picked Takumi Minamino. Now I'm slightly unsure what's going to happen with him because last year he was a cam for Salzburg. However, he was a right mid on FIFA for Liverpool when they moved him over. So I'm not too sure what they're going to do. He has been playing more of a central a kind of attacking mid striker role for Liverpool in pre-season. So I'd like to think that is where his card is going to lie. He's got decent all-round stats, which I think are going to get boosted. So I've put him up to a 77 card, which isn't a huge upgrade. However, he has had a cracking season. He's got a winner's medal in the Premier League and the Austrian Bundesliga. He's played quite a few games for Liverpool. However, in the for Salzburg, he has 2 goals in the Champions League, 5 goals, 5 assists in the Austrian Bundesliga, and 2 goals in the Austrian Cup. So he has contributed to a lot of goals for Salzburg last season, so he's definitely going to get an upgrade. He has also got 3-star skills, 4-star weak foot, so that weak foot he should be able to shoot on either foot there and score plenty of goals. I think he will be a good contribution to any midfield. It's just the unsureness of whether he will be a right mid or a cam on this game, hence why he is an honourable mention and not in the starting 11, because I can imagine he will be quite cheap. So, as you can see, next up we have Phil Foden, the Man City centre attacking mid, Pep Guardiola's kind of favourite wonder kid, shall we say. I've popped him in here. I think he's going to have a decent card this season. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy. He has scored some goals and assists this season. I think he got a few in the Champions League, Premier League, and a few assists in the FA Cup. So he is going to get a slight upgrade. I don't know how crazy it's going to be. I've said 78 is a relatively reasonable card for him. So he's got decent all-round stats. He's got 4-star skills, 3-star weak foot. So again, he is going to be a good attacking midfielder to get around those defenders and potentially score some goals, and if not, provide some assists. Again, I don't know how much he's going to cost. Obviously, being English and Man City, it might be a slightly more attractive card when it comes to squad builders, along with some of the other players as well in this squad. Joe Gomez, of course, Liverpool, and other players in big teams. They are going to be slightly more expensive on the basis of squad builders. People like to plan for those. But yeah, I think he'll be a decent player if you can get him for a good price. I only have one honourable mention for the wings, and that is Steven Bergwijn for Spurs. Now, last season he, again, like many of these players, wasn't too expensive, and he is just a brilliant all-round player. I don't know how much of an upgrade he's going to get. Um, Last season his card was very similar to this, much like most of them in this video. But he's got decent pace, really good dribbling, and his shooting, although it's, well, I've put 78 again, it's not far off what he had last season. He is just a really good player, darting up and down that wing and getting you goals. 4-star skills again. If you want to do some tricks around the defenders, you're going to beat them really easy, and you're going to get lots of goals with this guy. So I think he's going to be a really good player. It just depends on his price bracket and how much of an upgrade FIFA give him, because he didn't get too many goals last season, but he is one of those players that deserve a slight upgrade, and he is just an outstanding player across not just last FIFA, but the FIFAs before that as well. Finally, my last honourable mention is a striker, and it is one of my personal favourite players and favourite players on the game, especially when you're starting off, and it is Danny Ings. I mean, I don't really need to say much about Danny Ings. He had a sensational season last year, almost contending for top goal scorer for Southampton. Um, he's got a high work rate. He's going to come back and defend, but he is going to get forwards and score goals for you. Sometimes a high can be slightly tricky when you've got an attacker, because they don't always commit to the attack. They do come back and defend, but he will run the pitch for you. I've used him on previous FIFAs a lot, and he will score you goals, and I mean tons of goals. He's normally the first player I buy most years. Last season he had a 76 rated card. It was like 74 shooting, 75 pace, and although he's not super fast, he will get into those positions and he will find the gaps and score goals. That's what Danny Ings does on this game. He just scores goals, and that's all you really need. As I say, he's not going to dart away from defenders too much, but he'll do it. If you've got players like Pulisic and Sarr, you don't need him darting away from the players. He'll just get into positions, be ready to receive the ball, and score the goals. So I think he is going to be a good addition. I didn't pick him over Mason Greenwood because I'm not sure what Mason Greenwood's upgrade is going to look like, but I think it might be quite a good one. Ings normally is a really cheap player on FIFA and massively underrated in my eyes. I've only given him a 4 overall upgrades. I don't think FIFA is going to go too crazy moving him too far into the 80s, but I think 80 is a fair judgment, and if he does better this season, I can imagine he'll get plenty of informs as well. But yeah, I think 80 shooting, he doesn't even need that, because on FIFA in previous seasons he has been insane. Sweet, so that is my predictions on what will be a good OP squad. A lot of these are players I've used in the past, like I've already mentioned, so they are proven that they are good players, and I don't know why that would change this year. Of course, when the ratings come out, I'll probably do this video again because I can imagine I've been well off with some of these ratings. However, I don't imagine my squad will change too much because I do believe these players that I've picked here will be really good players for FIFA 21. Now, with that said, I do hope that this has helped you and that you have got some inspiration moving into your squad. Of course, there's still what we've got until October until the game comes out, so it's still a little while. But fingers crossed, you managed to build a pretty decent Premier League squad and the foundation based off this video, and that I've helped you. If I have helped you, or you've got opinions on some of my selections, or some people I might have missed, by all means pop it in the comments. I would love to hear what you've got to say. And if you haven't already, go down and hit that subscribe and like button. I would massively appreciate that. And I will be looking to make player reviews on these players as well as other players through the duration of FIFA 21. Thank you very much.